Hey, it's Tommy, and we are going to be reading The Magic Ladder to Success by Napoleon Hill, or I am. You're going to be listening. There is a mannequin here behind me because my wife does some of her sewing in here. And also, I just wanted to let you know I've been reading this for, since the beginning, and we, separate this into chapters. And this one is lesson 4 we're going to be reading. Another short one, it's called The Habit of Saving. I'm doing this daily. Go back to the beginning. If like, oh, that was interesting. I want to listen to the book from the beginning. And you can always just, um, fast forward a bit or whatnot. Sometimes I add an opinion, though, or at the beginning, I mention this, for instance, that I'm reading this book from beginning to end. And what's one great thing about this book is that it was Napoleon Hill's first book, and if once you read the end, and in fact I mentioned in the intro as well because it's mentioned in the book, the main kind of thing that he's putting here, um, you know, what he's putting down. Hope you're picking up is the book was basically written to help you come up with better ideas on how to move forward. I mean, a lot of books pretty much are, right? But ultimately, we talk about the 17 principles of the laws of success, and the general one being the mastermind, the first one that's the most information he lays out on that. And then the other principles all kind of weed into that. And the fact that um, really the main part of this book. I keep looking at this when it shows me. This is wax. I do a candle concentration exercise, and then I some wax dripped on each side of this book. I guess that's why I put an extra binding on it. But ultimately, the main part about it is, just to bring more thought forms to your mind that will help you in you achieving your goals quicker, your projects, working on them, coming up with a more efficient route. And that's really my intention here as well. Even though I'm here in the past recording this and you're there in the future listening to this, truly, the main thing here is I want us to connect in this mastermind. And if anything comes to mind, I'd love for you to, comment down below something that has. And I really hope with this book you just are able to move on forward with a great idea. So without further ado, lesson 4, the habit of saving. Very important. And on saving, also if you haven't read Richest Man in Babylon, highly recommended. Super simple book. It was originally written like as an allegory. Is that what it's called? For children. And it is really good. So lesson 4, the habit of saving. It is embarrassing. It is an embarrassing admission. That was embarrassing right off the bat. It is an embarrassing admission, but it is true that a poverty stricken person hasn't got a chance to be considered a noteworthy success unless that poverty is planned and purposeful. In that case, it's voluntary simplicity, and that's the subject of another book. It may be, and perhaps is true, that money is not success. But unless you have it or can command its use in the ordinary world, you will not get far, no matter what your definite chief aim may be. As business is conducted today, and as civilization in general stands today, money is an absolute essential for success, and there is no known formula for a financial independence except that which is connected, in one way or another, with systematic saving. The amount saved from week to week or from month to month is not of great consequence so long as the saving is regular and systematic. This is true because the habit of saving adds something to the other qualities essential for success, which can be had in no other way. It is doubtful if any person can develop self confidence to the highest possible point without the protection and independence that belong to those who have saved and are saving money. There is something about the knowledge that one has some money in the bank that gives faith and self reliance such as can be had in no other way. One more time. There is something about the knowledge that one has some money in the bank that gives faith and self reliance, such as can be had in no other way. The one without, for instance, I put much of my savings into gold and silver just because I trust that more. It's always been higher percentages than anything the bank's offered, especially recently. And I have a particular bank account that you can easily just take it out if you want, and otherwise it stays in gold and silver. Um, and I highly recommend that. But yeah, like when you've got that money in there, you're like, yeah, there's this particular faith of self and self reliance, self confidence in it too. Um, and there's a concept that a mentor taught me. I'll share at the end, but how you can hear that. But ultimately, let's continue because this is all about you getting those ideas that come to mind. Appreciate you. The one without money can more easily be exploited and preyed upon. In fact, is at the mercy of every person who wishes to exploit or prey upon him. If the one who does not save and therefore has no money offers a personal service, there is no alternative to accepting what the purchaser offers. If opportunity to profit by trade or otherwise comes along, it is of no avail to the one who has neither money nor credit, and it must be kept in mind that credit is generally based upon the money one has or its equivalent. When the law of success philosophy was first created, the law of saving was not included as one of the 17 laws, with the result that thousands of people who experimented with this philosophy found that it carried them almost within reach of their goal of success, only to dash their hopes to pieces on the rocks. For years, the author of the course and the creator of the philosophy searched for the reason why the philosophy fell just barely short of its intended purpose. Through many years of experimentation and research, it was finally discovered that one law was lacking, and that was the law of the habit of saving. When this law was added, the students of the law of success philosophy began to prosper without exception. And now untold millions have used the philosophy for the attainment of success, and not one single case of failure has been reported. The amount of your income is of but little importance if you do not systematically save a portion of it. An income of $10 million a year is no better than $10,000 unless a part of it is saved. As a matter of fact, the income of $10 million may be far more disabling for the one who received it than the very small income if the entire amount is spent and dissipated, because the manner in which it is spent may very well undermine the health and in other ways destroy the chances of success. Millions of people have read stories about Henry Ford's stupendous achievements and great wealth, but it is safe to say that not one out of every 1,000 of these people has taken the trouble or done enough thinking to determine the real basis of Ford's success. Through a test made by the author of the Law of Success philosophy, 500 people were given an outline of the 12 fundamentals that have been largely responsible for Ford's success. In this outline, it was pointed out that the amount of cash received each year from the floor sweepings and trash taken from the Ford plants amounts to nearly $600,000. Whoa, that's interesting. Just the trash, obviously the metals and things like that. That's a lot of work they did there. Not one of the entire 500 placed any significance upon this fact. Not one of the 500 discovered, or if they did, they failed to mention it, the fact that Ford was always a systematic saver of resources. We know a great deal about the spending habits. And in fact, what comes to mind right now, I used to work with a demolition company, and like one of the main things when we quoted a demolition, especially with the large buildings, was if there were metals or particular types of concrete that we could just get rid of and recycle, and we would actually earn money on that. So sometimes it would help us win bids because other people didn't have that option or know they could find someone that could do that for them in the area. So we would just, we were never the lowest bidder. Um, Never a good idea to be. But ultimately, um, yeah, it was cool. We could just take a chunk off when we found out that, oh yeah, we can make some money off that. Oh, it was a fun job. We know a great deal about the spending habits of Americans, but little of the more important habit of saving. Woolworth built one of the highest skyscrapers in the world during his era and accumulated a fortune of over $100 million by saving the dimes millions of Americans threw away in the trash. The habit of spending money is a mania with most people, and this habit keeps their noses to the grindstone all the days of their lives. Woolworth, he had like the 10-cent stores, got the dollar stores and things like that now. So that's what, get things for a dime. Tests have been made. Tests have been made that show conclusively that the majority of business people will not place their resources or even positions involving responsibilities in other directions in the hands of those who have not formed the habit of saving money. The savings habit is the finest sort of recommendation of anyone of any position. The late James J. Hill, who was well prepared to speak with authority on the subject, said that there is a rule by which anyone may determine whether or not he or she would succeed in life. He said the rule came in the form of a required habit, that of systematically saving money. That makes sense. Law of compounding. Einstein mentioned is one of the miracles, one of the wonders of the world, right? It's really fun. I created a calculator actually. I was talking about saving, and the bank that I'm a part of, or you know where I put my money. Uh, it actually, you could just put it in gold, silver, bullion, or bars, and you can take it out anytime you want. But when it's sitting there, it's just usually acquiring more money. And if you're interested in that, connect with me. But ultimately, I'm bringing that up because it is true. Like, if you take a look at 1970, to, for instance, now systematically every single year, there was only one year with a dip for silver and gold, but otherwise every single year went up by, um, just went up. And if you take all those on average, every year went up by more than 6%. So it's just like, the, the Fed says inflation is like an average of 2 to 3, I think. So you're already going more than inflation, and no bank's giving you that much, not for a long standing of time. The next chapter is going to be lesson 5, take initiative and lead. These are great principles. We're going to keep reading more of them. But since we're talking about the habit of saving, one of the main things that I teach in a group you can join for free right now, and it's basically a concept I learned from a mentor where it talks about the easiest way to save. So I'll put a link down below where you can take a look at that. Ultimately, I highly appreciate you. If something came to mind, give it a comment, or comment it down below so others can get it. And like I said, we're connecting here in the mastermind just so you can get more better ideas. And this is always for the goodness of all concerned that we post this out. It's never more, never less than that. So that's the goal, and that's why I appreciate the communication I've received. There have been some adjustments that I've done because of that, so thank you very much. James comes to mind, and yeah, I highly appreciate you. Looking forward to seeing you on the next one, and just keep reading or listening to books, and keep making sure that when something comes to mind, like when we're reading here, give it a pause and write that down so you can do it later, or communicate with who you have to, even if you forget, at least you've written it down so when you come back you'll remember. But otherwise, if I've had an idea before, I'm sure we all have, and then like you just, wow, what a great idea, you're thinking about it, you don't write it down, you don't record it anyhow, and then like 10 years later that came to mind again. I was like, wow, that was never acted upon. And yeah, anyway, it's just funny how that works. And we always got to be, as much in the present moment as we can. I talk about the, true gratitude on some of my other videos. which is ultimately just becoming aware of the present moment. Because even if we dislike something in our experience, our senses are already appreciating it, and gratitude is appreciation. Peace. Looking forward to seeing you on the next one, and I hope you have an awesome day. Looking forward to helping you out even further. Peace. Oh, yeah, down below, that thing I talked about. Nada.